Welcome back once again. It's your boy Abdul, the Health Man. I'm here to give you another great show on Grown Folks Podcast, Sunday night Eastern Standard Time. We're about to start up. Today we got a topic. We've talked about similar topics, but this is a little different. We're going to talk a little bit about what happens when you have too much insulin. Too much insulin. This happens a lot, okay? First, we're going to talk about the process of metabolism. What is the metabolism? Because everybody hears metabolism. So we're going to talk about what is metabolism, and it goes through the process of anabolism and catabolism. So anabolism and catabolism makes up metabolism. So the combination of anabolism and catabolism makes up what your metabolism is. So what is anabolism? Anabolism refers to the process of synthesizing complex molecules from simpler ones, which require energy and reducing power. Such synthesis of protein from amino acids requiring energy in the process, also known as biosynthesis and construction of metabolism. It is crucial for growth, tissue repair, storing, and energy for later uses. So anabolism is building up. You take an amino acids, you're making protein. You are taking fatty acids, you're making fats. Okay? You're taking simple sugars, making carbohydrates. You see, we're building anabolism. You're building muscle. You're taking amino acids, making proteins. Those proteins make muscles. That's all an anabolic process. When you build up, you're building bone density. That's anabolism. You're in an anabolic state. You're building up. This is a part of your metabolism. This is very important. This is part of your metabolism. Because when we think of metabolism, we only think about weight loss. Metabolism is all the functions in the body. Anabolism and catabolism that requires vitamins, minerals, energy, nutrients, enzymes. Everything is involved in the metabolism. Catabolism is the set of metabolic pathways that breaks down complicated molecules, such as carbohydrates, lipids, and protein, into their smaller ones, releasing energy. Releasing that energy stored as ATP. Okay? So when you think of catabolism or catabolism, it's the opposite of anabolism. So your anabolism, you're breaking, you're building up. Catabolism, you're breaking down. You're taking the carbohydrates, turning them into simple sugars. You're taking the fats, turning them into fatty acids. You're taking your proteins, turning them into amino acids. That is the process of catabolism. Okay? So you need both processes to make your metabolism. And each of those processes have their own effects. You need enzymes for all those processes. To build up, you need enzymes. To break down, you need enzymes. So you also need hormones. In each process, there's hormones that regulates each process. Catabolism hormones are often activated under stress, such as the fight or flight response. But not always, but under stress, some of them. Adrenaline. Adrenaline is a catabolic hormone. Cortisol is a catabolic hormone. Glucagon is a catabolic hormone. Okay? Cytokines is a catabolic hormone. Okay? Adrenaline. When you pump adrenaline from the adrenal glands, guess what happens? You pump this out. Your body now starts releasing and breaking down sugars to give you this burst. It takes those what's stored in the liver? Glycogen, and it turns it into simple sugars so your body can do what it needs to do. I need to run real fast. Something is coming after me. I need this quick burst of energy. Same thing with cortisol. It's breaking down. When you're going through times of stress, it is breaking things down. It's breaking down simple sugar. Sometimes it breaks down fats. It does all these different things. So these are catabolic hormones. Anabolic hormones are estrogens. They're responsible for tissue repair and growth. Estrogens, testosterone, insulin, what we're going to talk about. Insulin is an anabolic hormone and human growth hormone. Testosterone, we all know. Bodybuilders will tell you. Testosterone builds muscle. Builds muscle. Estrogens help build on more fat. Okay? Estrogens help build more fat. Insulin secretes, your body takes that insulin, shoots the sugars into the muscle, shoots the sugars into the cell, or it makes their blood sugar go to the liver that creates glycogen, builds up. Also, it helps synthesize proteins. Insulin helps with synthesis of proteins. We'll get into that. Okay? Because you find that bodybuilders also use insulin to help them build muscle. Okay? So it is an anabolic hormone. What is insulin? Because we're going to talk about it, because everybody hears about insulin. Insulin is a hormone produced by the pancreas that plays a crucial role in regulating blood sugar. Insulin signals cells throughout the body to uptake sugar from the bloodstream. This process helps lower blood sugar levels and provides cells with energy. Insulin is produced by the beta cells of the pancreas, and when the blood sugar rises, beta cells release insulin into the bloodstream. Okay? So insulin is an anabolic hormone. It's an anabolic hormone. And its job, it is the key to opening the cells so glucose can go inside the cell. That's what insulin does. It is the key to open up the cell to allow glucose to go inside the cell. Now, you may start, if you have elevated insulin levels, you start to have something they called metabolic syndrome. Elevated insulin levels are a sign of insulin resistance. And we're going to talk about this because this is a key to a lot of health issues that's going on right now. Metabolic syndrome is a group of conditions that increase the risk of heart disease, stroke, and type 2 diabetes. These conditions include high blood pressure, high blood sugar, too much fat around the waist, and high cholesterol and triglyceride levels. Metabolic syndrome means having 3 or more of these conditions. Having any one can increase serious risk of disease. The number of metabolic syndrome people in America has grown. About 1/3, 33% of all adult Americans have metabolic syndrome. Okay? I'm going to say that again. 1/3 has the metabolic syndrome. And you can understand that because remember we did the show on overweight or obesity? What did we talk about? 40% of Americans are obese. 40% of Americans are obese. We know that right now. And they said about 1/3 have metabolic syndrome. Because you're obese doesn't necessarily mean you have metabolic syndrome, but because you are obese, it increases your risk of having metabolic syndrome. It is a greater chance of you having metabolic syndrome if you are obese. And what is metabolic syndrome? You have an increase of high blood pressure. You have an increase of high blood sugar. You have too much too much fat around your waist. You have high cholesterol, high triglycerides. Usually someone who's overweight or obese have one of those things going on. So those in America, more and more people are starting to have metabolic syndrome. And it's also linked to insulin resistance. Insulin resistance. Okay? The insulin helps with the sugar going into the cell. But people with insulin resistance, The cells do not respond to the insulin as expected. The cells do not respond to insulin as expected. This is very important. You have a key to a door. You have a key to a door. The key does not open up the lock. The key is not working as effective. Before, you used to just slide the key in, open up the door very easily into the lock. Slide the key into the lock, pop the door open without a problem. Now, you have to jiggle it a couple of times. You have to really work with it. You have to not only put the key in lock, twist, you have to turn the door knob, kick it 3 times, and do a backflip just to get the door open. It's becoming resistant to the key. Insulin is becoming resistant to the cells, or the cells are becoming resistant to the insulin. The cells are not responding. It increases your blood sugar level because now the sugar in the blood is staying in longer. But not only that, what's even more damaging, it is increasing your insulin levels. It's increasing your insulin levels. Because you are resistant, not only is your blood sugar going up, but your insulin is going up. And your insulin is an anabolic hormone. It's an anabolic hormone. We're going to get into more why this is dangerous. We're going to get into more why this is dangerous. What happens when you have elevated insulin levels? Not blood sugar levels. What happens when you have elevated insulin levels? You feel fatigued. Your energy goes down. When you have elevated insulin levels, not blood sugar levels, when you have elevated insulin levels, your appetite increases when you have elevated insulin levels. Not elevated blood sugar levels, elevated insulin levels. We're talking the anabolic hormone that your pancreas secretes. When you have elevated insulin levels, you gain weight. What did I just say? What happens? What is insulin? Insulin is a what? An anabolic hormone. It's not catabolic. It's anabolic. Glucagon, the opposite of insulin, that is also secreted by the pancreas, is a catabolic enzyme. Its job is to break down glycogen and turn it into sugar. Its job is to stimulate fat cells to release fatty acids that go to the liver, go through the process of gluconeogenesis that turn that into sugar. That's glycogen job. Glucose does the opposite. Glucose is anabolic. Glucose makes you gain weight. Excuse me, not glucose. Insulin makes you gain weight. I am sorry, I said glucose. Insulin makes you gain weight. I said earlier, there's a reason why bodybuilders inject themselves with insulin. Hardcore bodybuilders. Because it makes them gain muscle by increasing more blood sugar into the cells, making them fuller. Making them fuller. Okay? It will make you gain weight. If you have too much blood sugar in your blood, now the body has to turn that sugar into fat. The body says, hey, I'm stored up. I got enough glycogen. I got enough sugar in my cells. I got enough glucose in my cells. It's too much. The body responds. The body responds by taking now that excess glucose and converting it into fat. And it is stored in the adipose tissues of your body, the fat cells of your body. This is what insulin does. Insulin is anabolic. It will make you gain weight. Remember, you're becoming insulin resistant. You're becoming insulin insensitive. You will gain weight. You will start to develop blurred vision from elevated insulin levels, because the body is not responding effectively to the insulin, but the pancreas doesn't know that. So the pancreas says, hey, I still have excessive amount of sugar in my blood, so let me continue to secrete insulin. It doesn't know. The pancreas doesn't know. All it's responding to is, hey, this blood sugar is over 200. I don't know that this key is not working well with these locks. I just know I have to keep producing more keys. And having that elevated insulin level, we're not talking blood sugar, we're talking insulin level, can blur your vision. We're talking elevated insulin levels can increase your frequency of urination. The same thing that you get from elevated blood sugar levels, you actually get some of the same symptoms from elevated insulin levels. All of a sudden, you have to urinate more because you're becoming insulin resistant. Insulin will stimulate the body to urinate. High levels of insulin will stimulate the bodies to urinate, the same way your body will respond if it had elevated blood sugar levels. You'll start to develop skin tags. You'll start to develop dark patches on the skin. You see them sometimes. You see people, you can see them, they have discolored skin. I'm not talking blemishes. There is a difference. You see them, the back of their neck is dark colored. It's dark. Under their neck is dark. They have a darkness on their foreheads and their cheeks. They have discoloration. Dark patches on the skin, or they may start to develop skin tags. They look like moles. All of a sudden, they're developing more and more of these skin tags. These mole-looking, they almost look like moles. And you can see it on somebody who has an elevated insulin level. You can actually see that their skin is changing colors. And one of the greatest ways of seeing that is looking at the back of somebody's neck. And they'll have this darkness over their skin that is an unnatural color on their skin. You see it sometimes. I don't have to keep describing it, but you see it. You see the people who have it. Women start to develop polycystic ovarian syndrome, PCOS. That's from high insulin levels. Right now, it's becoming an epidemic of PCOS. I've never seen so many young women in my life. All of a sudden, is developing PCOS. You see it with people who have high triglyceride levels. One of the signs of elevated insulin levels. You start to develop higher triglycerides. It is an anabolic hormone. Technically, it's an anabolic steroid. Because hormones are steroids. It is an anabolic steroid. Let's put it like that. Let's not make it seem what it is. Truly an anabolic steroid. And when you have high levels of an anabolic steroid in your body, like insulin, you start to develop PCOS as a woman. You start to develop higher triglycerides. You start to develop higher uric acid levels. All of a sudden, everybody got gout. Everybody has gout. And maybe because I'm getting older now, I'm seeing all these old, like these diseases and these issues and these symptoms that people are getting, and it seems like everybody's getting gout. But 1 out of 3 people in America has high insulin levels. They're becoming insulin insensitive. They're becoming insulin resistant. And now it increases your uric acid levels. You have hardening of the arteries, arteriosclerosis. From having high insulin levels, not blood sugar levels, high insulin levels. You have arteriosclerosis. You have high blood pressure. You have developed hypertension from higher insulin levels. You see what's coming from you just secreting a natural steroid, an anabolic steroid, you secreting naturally occurring insulin. When you are becoming insulin resistant, you start to develop all of these issues. You start to develop all of these issues. It's crazy. All of these issues are coming from having high insulin levels. And like I said, we're going to switch it on y'all. It's like having high anabolic steroids in your system. We always talk about, oh, I will never do steroids because steroids will hurt the body. Well, guess what's happening when you're becoming insulin resistant? You are keeping a steroid in your bloodstream longer. And it is damaging your body. Insulin resistance often develops in adipose tissue. That's your fat tissue, which then can become inflamed. Here we go. We get into the crux of it all. Insulin resistance often develops in adipose tissue, which can then become inflamed. This inflammation is linked to an accumulation of immune cells called macrophages, particularly M1 macrophages, which release an inflammatory molecule like MCP1. Let's go back. I want y'all to hear this. I'm going to say it again. Insulin resistance often develops in adipose tissue, which can then become inflamed. This inflammation is linked to the accumulation of immune cells called macrophages, particularly M1 macrophages, which can release inflammatory molecules like MCP1. Monocyte chemoattractive protein 1. All right? Insulin resistance can impair the normal function of adipocytes, fat cells, leading to the increase of MCP1 production and the recruitment of inflammatory cells. This creates a vicious cycle where inflammation further impairs insulin signaling, leading to more insulin resistance and more inflammation. Did you just hear that? That's why insulin resistance is destructive. It is destructive. It is like somebody's putting your house on fire, and then that fire jumps to another house, and then it jumps to the other house, and then it keeps jumping to the different houses. Next thing you know, the whole block is on fire. That's what happens with insulin resistance. It creates It makes the white blood cells, your macrophages, release inflammatory molecules. Okay? That inflammatory molecule production then recruit other inflammatory cells. Hold on a second. Woo, I don't know. I'm sorry. Something feel like it's stuck in my throat. Leading to recruitment of inflammatory cells. This creates a vicious cycle, further making your insulin resistance worse. Making your insulin resistance worse. Creating more inflammation. Now, one of the things I always say is what? 95% of all diseases start with inflammation. 95% of all diseases start with inflammation. You start with insulin resistance. You may start with a little bit. Few of your fat cells are not really responding as well to your insulin. Okay? This is how it starts. Your fat cells are really not responding as well to your insulin. Okay? Your macrophages go over and say, hey, this is not working. We got to do something about this. We're going to release some inflammation molecules. We're going to do that because this area over here is a problem. So we got to fix it because the macrophages are saying we got to fix this because the immune system is going over something's wrong. It's not working over here. We got to deal with this damage. We got to fix this. It goes over there. Well, the way we know how to fix this is we're going to promote inflammation. And you're going to say, why are we going to promote inflammation? Because usually when the immune system goes somewhere where it's inflammation, it knows how to repair it. But it doesn't necessarily know how to repair your cells not responding to insulin, but it knows how to repair. It has an innate function. When it needs to repair, it creates inflammation. You cut yourself. It gets inflamed. Why? You want more blood to go there? You want more white blood cells to go there to repair that damage. Fibrogen to go there to repair that damage. That's a natural response. Hey, this key is not opening up the door. My immune system knows, well, if it's not opening up the door, I know to create inflammation over there. And that's going to signal more things that come over to help. But it recruits more inflammatory cells. And the more inflammation that's created over there, the more it impairs insulin signaling, making it worse, leading to more insulin resistance and creating more inflammation. That creates more insulin resistance, and that creates more inflammation. And that inflammation now is creating high blood pressure, hardening your arteries, increasing your risk of getting higher uric acid levels, increasing your risk of triglycerides, causing you to have PCOS, messing with your vision, causing you to gain weight, causing you to be tired, all of a sudden you're hungry, you can't satisfy your appetite. All because you have high insulin levels. We're not talking high blood sugar levels. We're talking high insulin levels. You're talking an increased amount, a larger amount of your anabolic steroid in your bloodstream. You have a higher amount of your anabolic steroid in your bloodstream. It's trying to build. But it ain't working. And in the process of it not working, it's causing everything to catch on fire. It's burning everything up, creating all this inflammation. So what can we do? What can we do? We have high insulin levels. 1 out of 3 of Americans have high insulin levels. 1 out of 3. What can we do? And it may be great. I truly believe it's greater than that. I believe like maybe half of us have high insulin levels. Maybe more than half. Number one thing you could do, reduce your sugar intake. Reduce your sugar intake. Reduce your carbs. Reduce your high glycemic fruits. Go down to your lower glycemic fruit, like your berries. Go down to eating more low glycemic vegetables, like your cucumbers, your squashes, your kales, your greens, things like that. But you have to reduce your carb intake. You have to reduce your sugar intake. Why is that? Because the body will secrete it every time you eat sugar. Your body secretes insulin. It's naturally what it does. But if you reduce your sugar intake, your body secretes less and less insulin, allowing the insulin levels in the bloodstream to slowly but surely reduce. Slowly but surely. Hey, have a breakfast with an omelet. Almost has no effect on your blood sugar levels. Very minute amount. Very small amount. Omelet with spinach, broccoli. You know? Have that. It barely touches your blood sugar levels. Or have some berries. Have a smoothie with a sugar-free protein with a little bit of berries and maybe a half an avocado. Barely raises your blood sugar levels. Well, it's going to raise it, but not too much. But cutting your carbs down. Keep your carbs to a low level. You can be on a keto diet. Getting more sleep. What? Yes, that's right. Having low levels of sleep or loss of sleep affects your insulin levels. Catching up on sleep has been shown to reduce the effect of insulin resistance. When you do not get enough sleep, it increases your risk of insulin resistance. So you have to get more sleep. If you are insulin resistant, you need at least 7 hours. You can't tell me you work well on 5 if you're insulin resistant. You need at least 7. 7 to 9 hours. Working out about a half an hour, 3 to 5 times a day. I said 3 to 5 times a day. 3 to 5 times a week can promote immediately increase insulin sensitivity. Working out 30 minutes, 3 to 5 times a week will increase insulin resistance. It instantly does it, actually. When you start working out, it instantly makes you more insulin sensitive. Many studies have shown that resistance training can increase insulin sensitivity among men and women with or without diabetes. So you got to start exercising. At least in half an hour, 3 to 5 times a week. Eat more soluble fiber. Soluble fiber helps feed friendly bacteria in your gut, which has been linked to increased insulin sensitivity. That's right. Eat your fiber. Eat your fiber. Lose weight. Most people who are insulin sensitive or insulin resistant usually have more belly fat. Lose weight, and it increases your insulin sensitivity. Okay? Lose weight, and it helps you increase your insulin sensitivity. So we want to lose weight. So first and foremost, you want to cut back your carbs. Second of all, you want to get your sleep. Third, you want to work out 3 to 5 times a week, 30 minutes. I'm not telling you to be in the gym every day, all day. I'm telling you to work out 30 minutes. You could do 10 minutes in the morning. You could do 20 minutes at night. You could do 15 minutes in the morning, 15 minutes at night. You could do 15 minutes in the morning, 15 minutes with lunch. You can do it 30 minutes a day, 3 to 5 times a week. Exercise. Be more, move more. I want you to eat more fiber, and I want you to lose weight. Now, there's some things you can do, some nutrients and some herbs you can take. We all know, I already talked about these before, because they're similar to the same herbs that you do for diabetes. You want to take chromium picolinate or GTF chromium. They stand for glucose tolerance factor chromium. These nutrients, chromium picolinate or GTF chromium, makes you more insulin sensitive. It actually makes the body respond to insulin better. You could do vanadyl sulfate. Vanadyl sulfate. VANADYL sulfate. It makes you more insulin sensitive. It actually makes the body mimic almost insulin, if you want to say. Vanadyl sulfate actually mimic insulin, the way it responds to the cell. You want to take a supplement called Regeneration. I talked about this before. Regeneration combination, WD-301. It reduces inflammation of the beta cells in the pancreas. Because what we said, when you're talking insulin resistance, you need to become more insulin sensitive, and one of the ways you do that is by reducing inflammation. Regeneration combination reduces inflammation in the beta cells, making the pancreas work more effectively and making you more insulin sensitive. Doing this along with a chromium picolinate or GTF chromium is incredible for if you have high insulin levels, if you are insulin resistant. Regeneration combination WD-301. That's what it's called. If y'all know those Chinese herbs, they have their own form. They have their numbers. WD-301 resistance. You can do fenugreek. Fenugreek. It makes you more insulin sensitive. And it has a benefit on your hormones as well as it lowers cholesterol and triglycerides. Okay? So you can do the herb fenugreek. It makes you more insulin sensitive, so your insulin is working better, and your body does not have to secrete so much insulin because now you are becoming more insulin sensitive. It lowers your cholesterol, and it lowers your triglycerides. Fenugreek. You want to use magnesium? We all talked about magnesium. We did that about 3 weeks ago. But you want to use magnesium malate or magnesium taurate. You want to use magnesium malate or magnesium taurate. Especially magnesium malate, is the magnesium that's used in the energy production. It's a part of the Krebs cycle of energy production. It actually allows the body to use the glucose and turn it more into ATP. So that magnesium malate is extremely effective for that. Magnesium taurate also is really good for that too. But magnesium malate is going to be better if you're talking insulin resistance. Magnesium malate. You're going to talk about iodine. We talked about that like 2 weeks ago. The importance of iodine. Because insulin resistance is also affected by metabolic syndrome that can be affected by other hormones, by other hormones, such as the gland like the thyroid. Thyroxine also affects metabolic syndrome and insulin resistance. So when you take iodine, it helps you with your insulin resistance. Or consuming iodine-rich foods, such as kelp, such as sea moss, such as bladderwrack. Okay? Your seaweeds are rich in iodine. Your seaweeds are rich in iodine. Consume them. They will make you more insulin sensitive. Herbs like moringa. Herbs like guava leaf. Herbs like fig tree leaves. Herbs like bitter melon. Ceylon cinnamon. That's right, Ceylon cinnamon and berberine can help you become more insulin sensitive. and help deal with this insulin resistance, such as mulberry leaves and peach leaves. So, that's the end of my program tonight. If anybody have any questions, I'm opening up the line